Okay, so, taxes aren't always like the most fun thing to talk about.
Right.
But when we start talking about taxes maybe going up or down, I think that's something that everybody wants to listen to.
Yeah, absolutely. I think understanding potential tax changes is super important for everybody, no matter how much money you make.
Yeah. And, we love to dive into these complex topics. So before we really get into it, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any future episodes.
Yeah, that's a great point. So to understand these potential changes, we should go back a few years.
Yeah.
Back to 2017, when the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was passed, the TCJA.
Right.
A lot of people saw their tax rates go down, but they're actually set to expire in 2025.
Oh, so that means that we could all be paying more in taxes in a couple of years.
Yeah, it's a real possibility. There has been some talk of extending the cuts, though, and for people in high tax states, this is even more interesting because the TCJA capped what you could deduct for state income taxes at $10,000.
Right.
But there's been talk about removing that limit.
Wow, so that could be pretty significant for some people.
Yeah, really significant savings for some taxpayers.
And I remember during the last election, there was some talk about paying zero taxes on things like tips and Social Security and overtime pay.
Yeah, that was a proposal that was put forward that would eliminate federal taxes on those specific types of income.
I'd love to hear what you all think about that. Do you think that eliminating taxes on certain types of income is a good idea?
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments. And hey, if you're liking this discussion so far, don't forget to give us a like. Now let's talk about how taxes on businesses could be changing, specifically foreign businesses.
Right. There's been a lot of discussion around that and, how changes to those regulations could impact consumers. And, any changes there could potentially lead to tariffs on imported goods, which could go up by maybe 10 or 20%.
So could we end up paying more for everyday items because of that?
That's the big question, isn't it? It really depends on whether businesses absorb the costs or pass them on to consumers. Some businesses may try to absorb the costs to stay competitive, but others might have to raise their prices.
It makes you wonder what the effects of those decisions would be for everybody, for businesses and consumers.
Yeah.
So let's get a little bit more personal.
Yeah.
Have any of you listening gotten a bonus or a raise lately? Because understanding how that money is taxed is really important.
Oh, absolutely. And this is where it's really important to understand tax brackets.
Okay.
Because it's a common misconception that if you earn more, all of your income is taxed at a higher rate.
Right.
But that's not actually true. The U.S. tax system uses what are called progressive brackets.
Well, can you break that down for us? What would that look like for someone who was making, let's say, $95,000 a year and got a $10,000 raise?
Well, only the amount of that $10,000 that falls into a higher tax bracket is taxed at that higher rate. The rest of their income is still taxed at those lower rates. And this is why tax planning is really important.
Okay.
Like contributing to a 401k or an IRA.
Right. Those are tax-advantaged accounts.
Exactly. And they can really help to reduce your taxable income.
Which can make a big difference.
Right. They can. And there are other strategies to consider, too, like when you receive a bonus.
Oh, so if you know a bonus is coming, is there a good time of year to actually receive it?
Yeah, it can be really beneficial to get it at the beginning of the year.
Okay.
So that way the tax burden is spread out over the whole year instead of hitting all at once at the end.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So what if somebody is listening and thinking, okay, with all these changes, what can I do to get ready? What would you say are like the most important things to do?
Well, first of all, I'd say make absolutely sure your withholdings are correct.
Right.
You really want to have enough taxes taken out of your paycheck so that you don't end up with a huge tax bill.
Yeah, nobody wants that surprise.
Nobody wants that. So review your withholdings. And then remember those tax-advantaged accounts that we talked about? Like 401ks, IRAs. Contributing to those can make a really big difference in reducing how much income you have to pay taxes on.
Yeah, it's not just about saving money, though, right? It's also about having a plan and knowing what to expect and taking control.
Absolutely. Taking control of your financial future.
Yeah. So we've talked about a lot today. Potential tax cuts, new exemptions, the possibility of changes in taxes for foreign businesses, and how tax brackets work.
Right. It's a lot.
It's a lot of information.
Yeah.
And as we go through all these potential changes, it's important to stay on top of it.
Yeah.
That's why we do what we do.
Right.
Try to make these complex topics easier to understand. If you're finding this helpful, please hit that like button and share it with your friends.
Yeah, we want everyone to be financially savvy. So what's been the most interesting part of today's conversation for you?
Yeah, I'm curious too. What questions have come up?
Because we've talked about a lot of possibilities, but it really comes down to how each of these potential changes could impact you.
Yeah. How will you adapt to all this as things continue to change?
What strategies will you use to make the most of your own situation?
Yeah, it's all about thinking ahead and being prepared
Exactly.
and taking action.
Yeah. And remember, this is an ongoing thing. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out when we talk about other important topics.
Yeah, we'll keep you updated and we'll break it all down for you.
Right.
And if you liked today's episode, please give it a like and tell your friends about it.
Absolutely.
The more we all know, the better we can plan for the future.
That's right. Until next time, happy strategizing.